Welcome to the Get Out Swim podcast, where we discuss all aspects of competitive swimming. I'm Seamus T. Quinn, and I'm a former Division I swimmer and current college and age group swim coach. Today, I'm joined by two former club coaches of mine, Ethan Cooke and Caleb Treadwell. Ethan is a Wolfpack Elite Coach, leading clinics and private lessons. He previously coached at Duke University and also spent 4 years as an assistant coach at Bucknell University, where the team set a combined 33 school records in the pool. Ethan began his collegiate coaching career as a graduate assistant coach at Division III Wesleyan University, during which the team had 2 NCAA qualifiers and set over 30 school records. Caleb is an assistant coach at UNC-Wilmington and lead instructor at Wilmington Swim Academy. Before moving to Wilmington, Caleb spent the last 2 years as an assistant coach at NC State and club coach at Raleigh Swimming Association. Prior to his time in Raleigh, Caleb spent time as an assistant coach at Division III Albion College and Wesleyan University, playing a role in both programs' success of setting conference records and earning All-American honors. Both Ethan and Caleb earned their undergraduate degrees from the State University of New York at New Paltz, where they swam collegiately for the Hawks. Ethan was a 3-year team captain and set school records in the 200 butterfly and both freestyle and medley relays. Caleb was a 2-year team captain and earned the men's team Most Valuable Swimmer award and established varsity records for both individual and relay events. I loved getting to catch up and talk swimming with these boys. It's truly inspiring seeing 2 former coaches and now colleagues of mine coaching at the highest level in our sport. Ethan and Caleb have the opportunity to work alongside some of the best collegiate coaches in the U.S., and more importantly, get to observe and learn from some elite level athletes. I hope to invite more young coaches onto the podcast and see what ideas and training methods are out there. I believe generating more discourse about how we treat and train our athletes will only help grow our sport. So without further ado, enjoy my conversation with Ethan Cooke and Caleb Treadwell.
Take your marks.
Welcome to another episode of the Get Out Swim podcast. I'm your host, Seamus T. Quinn, and today I'm joined by 2 former coaches of mine back in the club days at Hawks Swimming Association. They were 2 former graduate assistant coaches at Wesleyan University, kind of helping me get my feet on the pool deck at Wesleyan, following them, and then also more currently they are Ethan Cooke is he is a coach at Wolfpack Elite camps, and then Caleb is an assistant coach at UNC-Wilmington, along with coaching at the Wilmington swim camp. So, boys, thanks for joining me. I'm super excited to have you guys on.
Thanks for having us. Happy to be here.
Dude. Yeah, excited.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so why don't you guys just tell me where you're kind of zooming in from here? I mean, I know Ethan, again, you're in kind of the Raleigh area working with the elite swimmers there at NC State, and Caleb, you're in Wilmington. But yeah, where are you guys kind of situated? And kind of, yeah, where are you at in terms of just I guess the season right now and sort of your own sort of arrangement within this year? I guess Ethan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, NC State and pros here don't do a training trip, so we're like hitting it. We're in the middle of it. There's probably a lot of reasons for that, I think. But so we're just in the middle of quality training right now. We got some big meet. There's some big college meets coming up, and then the pros are doing some pro series and stuff this month. So like training has definitely been hard, but we like on Saturday we did some suited stuff. And some people went best times in 50s and things like that. People were going 150s fast, and if they flipped and went at 200, they might have gone to best time. So they're getting broken down sometimes during the week, but we're able to go real fast right now. So that's where we're at in the season. And so that was really cool to see on Saturday. And yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Caleb?
Yeah, probably pretty similar over here. The swimmers got back Monday. So today is Friday the 5th. they got back Monday, New Year's Day. That was our first practice back, so it's been pretty much like a full week back right now. About 2 months out for conferences, and pretty much right now, especially this week and kind of this weekend and next Monday, I think the coaches are really kind of deciding who's going to conference, who's not, maybe using a meet next week to kind of help out with that as well. I know some people, next week will be their last meet. So that's a lot of kind of what the coaches are going through right now, just figuring out conference team. But a lot of racing, a lot of fast swimming right now for sure. Yesterday we put tech suits on and the sprinters did a couple 50s, but it was cool. Bobby does a bunch of different stuff. We, for the sprinters, eventually did some 25s, started at the other end. We had pads in the pool, so we went from a push. So seeing how fast we can go from a 25, stuff like that, just pure front end speed. 500 freestylers did a 300, couple 5 300s yesterday off the blocks. First 50 was build, and then the 250 was kind of like back end 250 pace. And then IMers and strokers did kind of 150 stuff. So kind of similar to what Ethan was saying with what State's doing. But a lot of fast and weight room, kind of similar. Nothing where they're going to be super sore. It's more so just being explosive, power, speed, stuff like that.
Cool. Very cool. And how would you describe sort of like your roles that you are both in now, both at like the elite kind of camp scene and then also at the college scene? What's your day-to-day look like? Like what are some of your, primary roles in the coaching positions that you guys are in now?
I've been doing a lot of like community stuff, video stuff. We've got clinics that we run. Caleb did a bunch with me this fall. We just did one New Year's Eve with Ryan White, and that was more like a community thing. That's like red and white swim camps. It's like one of the other hats that I wear, and that's cool. And like video editing, running clinics and things like that. And then with the team, it's like I will run pros through different. Braden likes to do a ton of different things at once and gets really creative and has like 8 different things going on. So I will take a small group of people. Somebody else might take a small group of people. Otherwise, I'm helping a bigger group of people. But like this morning, we're doing some power. We're doing things on like 4 different versions of power. Some people are doing buckets. Some people are doing racks. Some people might have nagging back things, or like don't need to drain their legs, are doing something else power wise. And then at the end, you have Ryan White and another pro do 950s long course to turn it into 12. It's just very fluid. Like, all right, you're going to go this, you're going to do this. And so I was over there timing some people doing some 50s long course. So like what's cool, and Caleb can attest to this, is that if you work here, he'll let you coach. Like he'll let you do stuff. Braden will let you do stuff. He wants you to do stuff. He wants to like teach you stuff. He wants you to learn from other athletes. So he lets me coach. He definitely gives me stuff to do, which is awesome, which I love. A lot of Power 5 or big programs, like they won't even let you do that. Or one coach writes every single thing. Braden even here is like, there's 3 groups, red, white, and black. And I have no idea what the other 2 groups do ever. Like in terms of, I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what they're totally. And one thing is we have Bernardino, obviously, who's a legend in a Hall of Famer anyways, and could be a head coach anywhere, running his own thing. And he obviously does a great job and won 2 in the mile last year. But, and then Dan, who's been around for 5 years, really, really good coach, knows his stuff. But he's on a top 5 team and he runs a group, and he's, young 30s, which is a big deal. So he lets these guys coach, which is really cool. I've learned a lot with that, but yeah, it's cool to be a part of that and still have some responsibility, like still show up and be like, okay, you're going to be doing something. So yeah, it's really cool.
Very cool. Caleb.
Yeah. It was so funny. So different. Working with some of the best coaches in the world. It's kind of crazy. For the college team, my main focus is what they do strength-wise on land. I'm with them in the weight room Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. I don't necessarily write that programming. I have in the past for other colleges that I've worked at, but not here. So I'm just kind of helping out, making sure everybody's got good form, just kind of another pair of eyes there. And then dryland Tuesday, Thursday in the afternoon, I'll help out with that. So those are like my main responsibilities for UNCW. I'll be on deck at least a couple of practices a week, but it's not every single practice I'm on deck, which is nice. I have a little more time for myself. So I think honestly, when I'm on deck, I feel like most things are covered, but Bobby's similar as Braden. There's a couple different groups going on, usually like 3 or 4 different practices. If they need me to cover a practice, then I'll take a practice for sure. But if they don't, I'll probably float and just give advice, give feedback technically. I kind of see that as like what I am there. I'm kind of the feedback and like detail guy. Feel like I've kind of always had that role a little bit, but it's nice having groups covered, and I can just go around and watch the distance freestylers, whatever, make sure you're gliding off the wall, sprinters. So it's nice. I get to see a bunch of different things. And then Wilmington Swim Academy, I coach a lot of different age groups. I coach 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds, high school swimmers. Right now I'm also currently in the middle of a high school season. So really coaching a lot of different age groups right now. But I'm the head for that high school group, which has been really fun. That's been a little bit different for me. But for all the other club stuff, that's me, and that's a lot of, especially the way that we do it and the way that Bobby wants it done here. It's very, very technical. We're doing 25s, some 50s, really not that much at all. He doesn't want to run like 2,000-yard practices, 3,000-yard practices for 10, 11, 12-year-olds. I think he wants things to be really, really well done and to be perfect. So we focus a lot on like body line, stuff like that. So that's been a lot of fun for me as well, just kind of thinking about swimming in a different way. I'm actually starting giving swim lessons to a 36-year-old woman who's never swam before. And the first lesson, she was very just afraid to be in the water, like just being in the water. And now like 5 or 6 lessons later, she can pretty much do a full 25, stopping a couple times. But that's been way different, and that's been really cool to kind of like learn how to coach a little bit differently and think about it differently. Yeah, so I do a bunch of different things, but yeah, that kind of encompasses a lot of that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, for you, it sounds like just coaching such a wide range of like different people, and as far as their swimming level, I'm sure that makes you think very broadly about, you know, just how people move through the water and like how to translate your coaching to like different ages, different levels of swimming. So yeah, that sounds great. And then, so I have a question for both of you. Like, as far as just, I don't know, I guess the experiences that you both have had at NC State and just kind of like being around, you know, some of the best minds, like you said, like the impact that it can make to be just around some of like the best coaches. Like, what are, I don't know, some, I guess like training, maybe training methods or anything you do in training that like you just really enjoy right now? Like, it could be, again, helping with the young kids, Caleb, kind of like 10, 11, 12-year-olds, or it could be like, you know, the elite swimmers with you, Ethan. Like, what are some things that you're really liking, what you're doing, what you're seeing from some of your swimmers in training?
We did 50 free days on Thursday evenings. So, and that's like 4 coaches to like 16, 17 athletes last night, but it's 50 free days, so it's really specific. That is always good. Yesterday we were doing like slam balls into relay starts, into flips, into all kinds of nonsense, which is always fun. Last week he's just coming up with different things for hand speed and primers, and we did just slapping the kickboard against the bench. They put it up on the team Instagram, I think, slapping a kickboard against the bench. Okay, dive in. Hold your body line. When you hear the whistle, flip. Sprint back to the wall. Do another flip on the wall. Hop out. You know, slam the kickboard. Okay, now get back on the block, do relay start. That kind of stuff has been cool. And I knew that they did that stuff and I'd seen it, but that's like the most different thing I can think of that not a lot of people do. He mentioned that one year they did a joint practice with Georgia, and Georgia with Jack Bowerly was like real big volume, and just maybe not even that's the right word, but just like definitely focused on the swimming, little less of maybe like things like I said, hand speed and like all that nonsense. So they did the kickboard slamming thing and like all these sprint things, and the Georgia staff was like, what is this? So in the best way, right? And then they could learn from each other. I thought that's a cool anecdote when we did that kickboard slap thing, that and that was like so hard. They looked at that, they didn't know what it was, then all of a sudden it's so hard. Another thing we did recently.
So real quick with the kickboard slap thing, can you just go through like the point of that whole, sort of like drill creative stuff?
There's a word that I like that our strength coach at Duke taught me, which I had been looking for the word for a long time. This is potentiation. And I think the real thing is post-activation potentiation. So like after you warm up a bit or stretch or get ready, you do something that will act like, again, it's a little different than like activation. It's just like, it would be like a hand speed thing or the kickboard thing. And then you go into something explosive. So like the way that I'd been looking for the word when a strength coach at Bucknell was teaching the kids how to do vertical test and get the most out of it. And he said, like, walk around with big arms, open up, do a few heavy or decently heavy squats, and then open up the chest and then go do your vert test. Okay. And then maybe just do that again and see if you can jump higher. And at Duke, it was things like that. You can think of things like doing stretch cord cycles before you sprint. At this level, honestly, maybe not as much NC State, maybe more like freshmen at NC State, maybe like some people at Duke, and then definitely at the higher levels, I feel like they know how to warm up for races like pretty well, and they know how to do a general warm up. The biggest issue I saw, especially last year at Duke, was like they didn't do enough of that or speed, or they're afraid to do enough speed before warming up. So like the potentiation thing is funny. So anyways, just literally keeping it really tight and just geeking out on the kickboard as hard as you can, slapping the wall, and then going up and doing something explosive. Does it like really? I don't know. I don't know. But I think definitely the vert example with the squats into the jumping makes a lot of sense to me. Or like contrast training, when you in the weight room, you might do something quick and powerful, and then you go do a heavy set after that. Like your performance might increase. And so messing around with different things like that to be ready to go fast, anyways, that's what the kickboard thing was. So the med ball slams, like he was talking about med ball slam and getting really tall, like don't slam here, and don't getting up on your toes, slamming the ball. And then he was trying to relate that to like taking your last stroke into your flip when we did flips on the wall. So like that kind of thing. Another thing, just to keep ranting, but one other thing that we did recently was Monday night we did an impossibly hard sprint set that was like 100 speed. But you're supposed to basically go your 100 speed to a 75, which is like it was suited, which is like super hard. Maybe doable on certain days, but on that day they were tired. It was hard. So they did all right. But Tuesday they came back and they did really well. And it was 50s. And it was like, there was a point where he made a game out of it. And it was like, so for example, like try to hold 22.5 to 22.6, not faster or slower. So like, can you get right on that? And they made a whole game out of it. All of a sudden the practice environment totally changed. And they're, what was it? 5-1. Oh, okay. I got it. So like those things, like creative, I knew this was a thing here. Like I knew this was the brand, was like really creative, explosive, especially in the sprint group, especially with Braden. I knew that was a thing, but it's fun to watch kids like get into it. And because they like that, because it's so individualized and like also fun, you can actually be a lot harder on them in a way, right? Like, because they know that, okay, something good's coming, or I'm going to enjoy this, or the process is going to be fun, a lot of different points along the way, which is something that resonates with me. So that's my examples of what has things this week that have been cool, that make it different here.
Yeah. That's very cool. Like, I mean, it just sounds like that sort of, again, creative environment, especially with you're dealing with like the elite of the elite over at NC State. Like, they need probably just, I don't know, certain looks that are going to get them to think differently, right? Like, they've been through the motions for years as like club swimmers, high school swimmers. And when you get to college, it's like you really want to look for things that are going to continue to challenge you. And so it seems like over there, Braden and the rest of the coaching staff, including yourself, just are really into like just giving different looks, thinking outside the box, and just like raising the bar for a lot of these swimmers. Those are two really cool examples. So I like it. And then Caleb.
Nice. I mean, I definitely think generally just the way that I think about swimming is very technique oriented, very detailed. That's just like what I like. So that's what I'm going to think about. Something that, I mean, I've done in the past, but Bobby likes to do, and like I swim once or twice a week, masters. So I'll do it a little bit as well. 9 times out of 10, if I'm going to be with a group, it's probably going to be with a sprint group. Was a sprinter. Pretty much have been sprint coach for the last 5 years. So this is for the sprinters. When they're maybe a 25 fast, maybe just a couple cycles fast, but I really like pushing off on top of the water and getting your hips up really, really close to the surface of the wall, the surface of the water. Pushing off in a tight streamline, kicking for like half a second or like a full second even, just max ever kick, establish body position, get your body really high, and then rip a couple strokes or a full 25. Though doing it myself yesterday, I think it's good to do the first stroke or two not as fast as you can go. I think it's important for stuff like that just to find your catch first and then get tempo. But I think if you just try to rip right away, especially with one arm out in front, it's really hard to catch instead of just reaching as well and getting that catch first. So I like stuff like that. I really, really like body position and just like big kick kind of freestyle stuff for sure. But definitely coaching so many different age groups. I think about, I mentioned this before, just like body line, how we're getting off the wall. That's been really big with Bobby, both with the college students and with the younger swimmers at Wilmington Swim Academy. So especially like how they're turning, a lot of people might not push off deep enough or push off on their back in the right way, push off tight enough, whatever it is. So just kind of thinking about so many small things that go into normal things that we do every day. And like being a coach for the last 5 years, working with college athletes, whether it's like Division III level or the top and D1, a lot of them have it down and they don't think about that at all. But for 12-year-olds, 8-year-olds who haven't done it at all, that small piece of coaching that I would never think about before, I'm forced to think about that a little bit differently. And kind of teaching to some people a turn that my coach in college taught me that I really liked. Tom Eichelberg, he was a triathlon or a triathlete. So he kind of brought in one of his bike wheels one day and kind of showed an example of a turn that worked really, really well for me. And again, I was a big 50 guy, 100 guy. So, but honestly, I think the turn is good for a mile. I think it's good for practice, whatever. I don't know what it's called. I'll call it a hook turn, but just kind of combining the momentum with your head coming through and the last stroke instead of going 1, 2, waiting, and then flipping. A lot of it is spacing how close you are to the wall, timing how close you are to the wall, but ideally just taking a really big stroke, opening up maybe a little bit more, and really coming through momentum coming down. It's funny, a couple of the master swimmers have done a really good job with that. I don't know why, but I think if you can do that consistently and do it really well, I think that's really fast, and not a lot of people do it for some reason. Just the spacing to the wall, I think, is the biggest thing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of body line stuff for sure. With the high school team, I have them 3 days a week for an hour. So it's like barely anything at all. So pretty much 20 to 30 minutes of technical work, very focused detail stuff, and then 30 minutes, let's go fast. So a lot of that, I'll have them push off on top, get the body position. Doesn't have to be freestyle. They can do whatever. But I want them to be able to feel what it's like to be on top of the water. I think a lot of people, when they push up normally under the water, don't come up all the way, especially with the transition from their dolphin kick to their flutter kick, not being as good as it can be. So I really, I guess I'm into that sort of stuff right now. And like dryland, I'm always into that sort of stuff. Hollow holds are really big for me. Hollow rocks. I think the hollow hold is the best core exercise you can do as a swimmer. I think it's different. That's fine. You don't have to. But I think it's different than like crunches or leg raises where your body's moving. I think it's way more similar to what we were doing in the water, which is bracing. Staying in that one position, having your body in that position, you're holding it there. That's what we do when we swim. We brace. Anytime you reach out in front, you're bracing. You're not crunching. You're not moving your body up and down. So that's why I do those every time I do dryland. That's really, really big for me. Our strength coach, Gary Gall, in college, he kind of introduced those, and they're hard, but I think it also forces them to think about posture and body position, body line as well, stuff like that. So yeah, those are a couple things I'm pretty big into right now.
Dude, that's so good. Gary Gall told me the same thing. Brace, he used the same word.
Yeah,
so balance in swimming, like right, like that kind of thing. No, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I think I even heard it was like on one of Brett Hawk's podcasts that it was Matt Gravers talking about in backstroke. You want to think of like your body as like sort of almost like a what was it? It was as if you're like a rower and your body is kind of like the boat, and you know your arms are almost like the oars, because like the body of of the boat is going to be like really kind of like strong, sort of like on the water, and then your arms, you're essentially like keeping that body line. And you're trying to keep that core engaged. And then your arms are just really like the oars trying to get deep, kind of like a deep catch and pull to try and, propel you through the water. But like that kind of like made sense to me. It's just something I've been thinking about recently. But yeah, I think all the body position stuff, the kind of just efficiency in the water, to, technique drilling, I think is awesome. I think not like, as a club coach now, just kind of working with 10, 11, 12-year-olds, I'm constantly looking at their mechanics in the water. And quite honestly, we're not doing anything over like 100 repeats, 50, even like 50. Like I'm doing so many 25s with them and just trying to like watch them in the water. I'm trying to get them to think about how they're moving through the water, because I know, in time they'll be doing more swimming and more swimming and more swimming. So I don't want to burn them out. I'm just like, hey, we're going to try and get you to have fun, move through the water, and hopefully, develop the right habits so that when you are older, you can start to, kind of expand on what you're doing, and how much you're kind of tackling when it comes to different sets and ideas and looks. So I think that's great. And as far as like, I guess, the whole notion of like this sprint revolution that Brett Hawk is very big on. And I don't know, everywhere you look, I feel like on social media or just like, in terms of swim discourse right now, I feel like there's a lot of talk just about, getting rid of the old like threshold, big yardage training, and just like throwing in more, maybe efficiency in the water, technique, more, kind of like practice how you race type of training where you're actually like racing and you're getting up on the blocks, you're suiting up in practices so that, you're more comfortable suiting up in a race. So I guess I'm a fan of a lot of it, especially being a swimmer and going through, I don't know, my own sort of kind of experiences with the sport and looking back and being like, dang, I wish I had done this differently or this differently. Maybe that would have enhanced my swimming. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on just like, I don't know, maybe this discourse around swimming, your own opinions as, elite level coaches? What are your thoughts on it? It's kind of a broad question, but I guess, Caleb, I'll start with you.
Okay. I don't even really know what it's about. I don't know, like, what sprint revolution, like, is it about just the 50 or something? Or I feel like whenever he shows that, it's all just like a couple cycles fast or like 25 off the blocks fast. So I don't know. I don't think he thinks that a milers should be doing that. So I don't know like what that's based around for the 50 free or for the 50 breath, whatever, like hundreds. I mean, I think the gist of it, kind of like what you just said, makes a lot of sense to me. Just train at race speed, I think, is really important. And yeah, probably not something that's as prevalent in like the older kind of style of coaching. I guess that I've probably had like a good mix. One of my coaches, my main coach growing up, was pretty young as well, and he was super into learning a lot about swimming, what's going on. So he was pretty detail oriented, pretty intentional. But I feel like I've seen both sides. I don't fully know like enough science to really know you need this aerobic background to be really good in the 3-day meet and 100 2 times or something. So, I mean, I can't fully like comment on that, but yeah, definitely we should be racing and putting suits on in practice. I mean, we just did that. I think we've done that maybe twice already this week at UNCW. So getting up to speed, and like I think a lot of coaches, especially college coaches, will wait to go fast a little bit too long. So I think just swimming fast year round, swimming fast wherever you are in season is really important. And I mean, yeah, with everything, like to me, especially, I've said it before, like I'm very detail oriented. Like swimming was a very cerebral thing for me. I swam the 50. I was trying to be really good for 2 laps for 20-ish seconds. So swimming is detail to me. Swimming is being intentional with what you're doing and paying attention to your body. So that's already kind of been how I've thought about swimming for a while. So yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I generally like what I see. I mean, it seems fun. I feel like there's a bit of what's the right word? Like there's not an attitude towards it, but I feel like it would maybe start like more of a discussion. I guess, I don't know. I think it's fine as long as it's neutral. Like there's going to be better ways to swim for other people. That's totally fine, and you should learn and grow. But I don't think sprint revolution is for everybody. I think, yeah, try different things out, see what's best for you. I'm sure I'll just keep rambling. So Ethan, you can go.
For sure. No, I agree.
I'd like him to apply that to like a 200 backstroker and see what what he comes up with. Because you're right. Right now, to me, it's like, and he's Australian. I mean, if we're talking about just his approach to Brett Hawk and everything, I think in the U.S., if you have a talented sprint coach at these top programs, you've been doing this. You've been doing this for years. Like there's many programs. Braden's and Todd have been doing this forever. This isn't like a new thing. But I think maybe some places overseas are different, or maybe, you hear a story about if a volume oriented head coach kind of runs the whole team and he doesn't let his sprint coaches go with it, then that you can ignore some of that speed. I know Todd says all the time, protect their speed, like all the time. And I've heard his middle distance and distance coaches recite that back, that he will tell them that, like, he won't micromanage, but he'll just protect, like if they're breaking down, move on. Or here, a lot of time we give people like somebody that's breaking down, especially if they've been good that week or are always good and really paying attention, they'll just get a practice off. Like, and a lot of coaches are afraid to do that stuff. I really don't know about that. So I think like things like that, like take the afternoon off or be more attentive. The other thing is I think Cam McAvoy's like the case study, because he was a real traditional Australian swimming, and then he dropped a lot of volume and went a lot faster at practice and then at meets. And he's doing this crazy, when you look online, he's doing this crazy body weight stuff, like crazy, one-legged muscle ring pull-ups and stuff, muscle ups and stuff. That to me is like, honestly, when I think of it, to me, it's more like that. It's like Caleb talking about bracing, hollow hold, balance-oriented core stuff, because a crunch is nothing. It's nothing. There's nothing happening there that's swimming related whatsoever. And all that stuff. I think we know that now, but just doing core stuff that makes sense. And then like he came back, was like, I do back and buys or whatever it was, maybe a little bit less than a typical American strength coach might program, but just like, or a little less specialized, but just like I lifted weights. I'd go in the gym. I thought I was strong. And then I tried to do an L sit and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. So, which is the same. I had a couple of friends that were doing that stuff during COVID, and they were doing L sits and body weight planche push-ups and stuff. And I couldn't do it at all. And I'm strong and I lift weights, and I wasn't heavy at the time. I couldn't do it at all. Like his grip strength and like body weight stuff. So my bold take has been recently that like within 10 years, the measure of swim strength is going to be how long can you hold an L sit? Because to me, like right off the top of my head, that is so much more like strength to weight, holding strength in the right place, grip, stuff like that. Then it's like, I mean, just anecdotally, like how many of the guys that squat the most on teams that you've worked with were just the best kickers or swimmers?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Doesn't translate.
I would say sometimes maybe, but it definitely doesn't matter at all. Right. Like you could build strength and get stronger, but I just mean like that didn't mean anything. Like it's one thing to improve 15 pounds a week on your squat and get better at it. The other thing is just be like, well, he's the strongest guy. Okay. I haven't seen that mean anything really, honestly. And even there, it's like guy with better strength to weight, the guy doing the most muscle ups and pull ups, usually better with that. And the guy who, right. Like that, to me, the strength to weight stuff and the guy who can jump the highest, like that's, you know, and then even there, we know this now a little bit. It's like cleans is like a better metric, which Caleb and I already knew that. So it's all good, but we learned that a long time, but you know what I mean? So like, and even to that point, real quick, again, another anecdote, but like, I don't know. I look at some of the pictures of us in college or like what we were doing and stuff. I was like, we were like super fit and it didn't like really mean anything. Like,
we could lift really heavy weights, but we were probably better at lifting weights.
Yeah. That was like our favorite thing, which a lot of kids can resonate with, like, oh, they love to lift weights and like that's right, they like that more than swimming. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like especially swimmers too. Swimmers love to get in the weight room and lift.
But
I agree
saying.
though. Yeah,
so,
I know what you're saying for sure. Yeah. I think that right
now in the weight room in January, Duke 2, and if I was in charge, I would do it the same way. These are strength coaches, they know better than me anyway, so it's fine. But I don't know about Caleb, but January, getting ready to make the training faster and maybe take some volume off of it from the fall, right? We know that. We're smart enough to know that now. More specialized, go faster. They lift really heavy right now, this week, last week, next week. Real quick, if you don't know that, and you should by now, that's actually not how you break down or get super sore. It really is not. There's just so many less reps. Like if you were doing 3 sets of 10, you'd be a lot more broken down than what they did this week, 3, 2, 1 on cleans. And so they go heavy now. Okay, now like output, perform, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So this is a time at Duke, at NC State, where they're lifting really heavy. And I hope we're not afraid of that anymore. But anyways, that was a rant about dry land. But I think the sprint stuff that I've seen mostly is like men's 50 freestylers. Because he try. You know, there's other people that just aren't going to train like that. And while I'm on it, I mean, I was lucky to have some like aerobically inclined mentors early on. Like my Dan Schinner at Bucknell, he's a Bowman and Urbanchek guy. So like I see that side, I get that. And honestly, I could talk about this for hours, you can tell. And that just covers so many bases. That's why we're still doing that. That's why we're still doing heart rate stuff. It just covers so many bases. Like you just know that works. And for some people, that's the only thing that gives them confidence that they held this on hundreds. So like I said, if we see a 200 backstroker that's revolutioning that by means of sprinting, you know, let's see what that's. I'll be super interested. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'll just be interested.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like it can be maybe finding a line of having an open mind and doing a little bit of both, right? Like incorporating sprinting for, some distance swimmers, that's okay. But then also sticking with threshold stuff that is going to, build their confidence when it comes to holding a certain pace. And like, that I think it's like, keeping an open mind as coaches. I don't know. That's kind of like my take. But yeah, no, I like your just kind of bold take, I guess, of like, incorporating like swimmers are going to start to really like figure out a different level of sort of like body awareness when it comes to strength and challenging their bodies, like we've seen with Cam McAvoy. I mean, that stuff's incredible, like the calisthenics that he's getting into now, and like just being able to hold his body up with one arm on sort of the gymnastic ring and like do pull-ups, like that's wildly impressive stuff over maybe squatting 400 pounds, like it's just a different level of strength. And I think that, is translatable to really fast swimming. So I completely agree there. On the topic of strength and conditioning.
Didn't we already do the sprint? Like wasn't there a couple years where it's just like US RPT? We had a friend that was just like, nope, US RPT. Yeah. It was like, didn't we do that already? And then didn't Lance change his mind on that?
Right. Because also like that was only what he was doing. So it's like he was like, again, it's like it's not one or the other. I think it's got to be like a combination of like, of maybe both, or just like, again, like not just having one look all the time. I think that was the problem with his style of US RPT training, was like that was pretty much all he was doing. And so how do you, translate that to being able to endure like race after race after race after race after race, and then like peak when you need to at the Olympics or Olympic trials? Like that, I think that's what ended up happening with him. And so now it seems like from his coaches or his dad's Instagram training, they're doing like a lot of like body line work, like technique. Like I follow his dad on Instagram, and it's like, obviously they're doing probably the US RPT training and stuff, but they're doing a lot of contrast training. I mean, it seems like he's become a lot more open-minded when it comes to certain stuff. But I mean, also in his case, like he's training alone or doesn't have a team around him, which I'm sure makes it so hard. But yeah, for sure. I mean, US RPT, like fast-paced training, has been around. I think now it's just like figuring out ways to just give different looks, like, you do at NC State or you guys do at Wilmington. I think, those are great coaches, and Bobby and Braden that are kind of leading the charge there. And yeah, that's awesome. As far as strength and conditioning, real quick, like I know you talked about hollow hold and like kind of having a good core to kind of brace yourself when it comes to swimming. But yeah, what are some things, you mentioned cleans, like what are some things that maybe like young swimmers today, or even just like swimmers in general, college athletes, can really benefit from when it comes to like certain, maybe like major, or I don't know, just like important exercises that you can think of in your mind? It just could be an example or two, but yeah, Caleb, you can touch on this.
Yeah. I think especially for the younger kids, I've thought about this for a while. I think it'd be really nice if like 3 to 6 year olds, or maybe not even that young, like 6 to 10 year olds were doing like gymnastics for a year or two, just learning how to use your body, learn how to squat, learn how to hinge, learn how to get the hips through. A big thing that I worked on with the UNCW team this year, Dryland, was getting your hips locked into place. Like pushing off the wall, need your hips in. Getting off the block, need your hips. Relay start, you've got to get your hips to get into a full line. A lot of people don't get everything through. And that might just be like squeezing the glutes, whatever, pointing the toes. But learning how to get into a line, especially on land, pointing your toes, learning how to hold your line off the wall, I think is really, really important. So doing stuff like that, calf raise, whatever, just really specific, kind of putting them in the same exact line or body position that they'll be in the water, holding that. I haven't done it yet. I think I've thought about doing it, and then every time I do it, we do something else dryland wise, but just holding them in a calf raise for like 30 seconds, something like that. Just like making sure they know what it feels like to keep their toes pointed for a couple seconds. I think honestly, that's a really big thing, especially off the start. A lot of people just drop their feet a little bit, drop their knees a little bit because their toes aren't pointed. And maybe they're not pushing off as hard as they can. But yeah, I mean, cleans for college athletes, I think in general, unless you do the mile, or maybe 400 IM as well. But I think in general, cleans are, to me, the best exercise you can do, especially the lower distance you go, more explosive and sprint based. They're very, very technical. It's more than just kind of going up and down with a squat or a deadlift. Also technical, but cleans, really skill based and really, really focused around the hips and power there, which I think is really big in so much of what we do. Core, obviously, I'm really big into. I think literally everything we do in the water, you use your core. When you reach out, when you kick, when you're in streamline, you need to be tight or connected somewhere, upper, lower body. Especially for the younger kids, just teaching them proper technique, like doing a forward lunge, making sure your knees at a 90-degree angle or your knees a little bit forward, whatever. But and then I think there's a lot of coaching and a lot of coaches think about how things translate, and they may even talk about it with other coaches, but I don't think they dictate it to the swimmers themselves. I don't think they actually say, we're doing this exercise right now to get better at this in the pool right now. So I think having them actually think about what they're doing on land and then translating that, having them think about it in the water with more intention instead of just saying, we should think about this. You guys should think about this. You think about pushing off the wall. We push off the wall so many times. If you do 5,000 yards, that's so many times you push off the wall. As soon as you think about pushing off the wall, you're going to do it a lot better. So it's just the intention behind what you're doing, translating that from on land to in the water. I think that's really big for me. And just them, especially at a young age, but I mean college athletes too, being a little more kinesthetically aware, being able to kind of figure out where your body parts are, dead bugs, bird dogs, stuff like that. Even I've done those with eyes closed as well, just staying connected, staying controlled, doing things slow. Those are really big for me. I really like the connection kind of stuff a lot. Core and kind of like I had this thought when you guys were talking about the sprint stuff 2 minutes ago. Just doing things that are fun and like different and make you think about things differently. And I mean, swimming is not necessarily the most fun sport, so just do fun things when you can. And it's okay if it's silly or a little bit weird, whatever. I think doing different things is really important and just variety, stuff like that. This is something I could talk about for hours, but Ethan, you can go.
I love it though. Yeah. Well, even like Ethan's thing about 20, like Braden being like, all right, we're going to stay between 22.5 and 22.6. Right. All that does is like generate some excitement for the swimmers to be like, oh my God, definitely. I'm going to try and get in this range, that like gives them something to think about as opposed to just being like, we're going to go all out and see what time you're going to get after doing this.
Even just like if we're doing yesterday or 3 days ago, we were doing some med ball stuff, just kind of like getting in their face and being loud and just being funny and goofy, whatever. Yeah. They have more fun too.
For sure. Yeah. Ethan?
I like the holds.
I
like holds, I think, for the younger kids. Even
right.
And it can get hard too. Like even holding just hold a squat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For I don't know how long the interval would be for that because I never.
Yeah.
But that I think is great. I haven't seen the Florida Gators documentary. Urban Meyer using that as like a hard challenge finisher where they were just holding a squat, the Florida football team, like for who knows how long because they were about to die. But you know what I mean? Like kids doing that, redoing stuff, just making them do it again because it wasn't good enough. So that like we basically really just so that they have to think about it, right? They'd be like, oh, that wasn't good. Why wasn't that good? Do it again. And then I think more people should be doing random dry land stuff, even like the med ball slams in the middle of practices, honestly. A lot of the international guys here will talk about the stuff that they do like that, or they'll talk about Flo Manadu, who does like a bunch of push-ups in the call room, like a bunch, like he'll do a bunch of push-ups. Niels Corstagné here does a bunch of push-ups. I know Bruno does like med balls and stuff and like cord stuff on the land. I think it's one of those guys that doesn't even do very. Yeah. Do you remember who it is at all?
No.
You heard that, right? Yeah. There's one of those guys that doesn't do much swimming at all, and he just does that. It might be Bruno. Anyways, but you hear what I'm saying? Like again, the potentiation thing, that like being ready.
It's getting their body ready, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But again, with the, oh my gosh, I just say this real quick, and this maybe is just not my thing, but man, I had to cover some 11, 12, and Caleb already knows this one, but I had to cover some like 11, 12 dry lands this year, and I just don't understand. I don't really know how to do that one. They just don't, especially right after school. They're coming.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So anybody that's doing a good job with that, kudos to you. Maybe maybe I was a substitute teacher. I don't know, but that is hard. So good luck. Yeah. But I think redoing stuff or holding things, if you're holding something, you know, that you can't mess that up too much. Like if you're just doing like Caleb's, the calf raise hold, that's a good one. I like that one. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it's like also doing things slower too often makes it so much more. Like think about doing a pull-up slower or just like, you know, whatever it is, something slower. I feel like that, or like a hold that certainly is going to challenge you. Also, like with exercises, I feel like once your body makes an adaptation to like a glute bridge or a single leg glute bridge, like I feel like I always have to challenge my body in a new way. So it's like trying to figure out new ways to like challenge your body when it comes to a certain movement, because your body will quickly make an adaptation once it figures out like, okay, this is, you know, a strength exercise that we're targeting here. So like oftentimes that means like me trying to figure in some single leg stuff or some balance stuff. And I'm just kind of shooting at the hip here, but it's
okay. Real quick. I can go again.
Yeah, you go.
I mean, you said two things. I guess I'll be quick. Pull-ups. We've done a lot of pull-ups with the women in dryland, or with everybody in dryland, but I'm thinking of the women. With the women, when we first started doing them, we were doing a lot of like negatives, like East. I think it's eccentric. Maybe it's constant. I don't know. They might be even just starting here and then slowly going down. So just figuring out the right muscles to use and getting a little better at them, just stability wise and muscle endurance wise. And now we haven't done it with the women yet, but I think some of them definitely can do it. Weighted pull-ups we've started to do with the men, especially well, all of them, but especially the sprint men. And then single leg stuff. I know you just mentioned that. I'm really big into jumping and just staying agile and kind of being springy and poppy. So I did some single leg stuff, some jumping, short hops, and like a broad jump or different stuff like that. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. Real quick question. When it comes to like making sure that you're not overdoing it, right? Like, because we have a lot of injuries surface when it comes to swimming, when it comes to shoulders or like knee, like whatever it is. Like, I mean, what would your kind of like advice be, or how would you as coaches sort of like manage that? Just not overdoing it. Also being mindful of like, you know, maybe doing some, I don't know, additional, like it could be resistance band work for shoulders, or like, is there anything that you implement to try and make sure that you're, you know, not going down the track of overdoing it or like having an injury surface for some of your athletes?
Yeah. The higher the output that they can get to, power and speed, the like, just the less they need to do. Because like there's a kid on the team right now that I think he injured himself last year because he just didn't know, he wasn't communicating super well about like what he was feeling, and he just pushed and broke. And then he kind of redshirted, I think. And he's been 18 and 41 this year already. So because we've had to been like, yo, 2,000 easy tonight, or give him Friday morning off. And with those guys, they can't do too little in a way, as long as you're going fast and this and that. They're like, that guy could probably still be pulled back a little bit sometimes. The big thing there is just like there's nothing more frustrating to me that like somebody that can't communicate that at all. Or just like they don't know that what's going to happen if they go push that too far. Honestly, though, before this team, there may be a Duke sometimes, but at other levels, like I don't think that happens as much, really at all, because of the level of output this kid can get to. He's 18 to 41. I've heard, for instance, like Sjöström won't do what, like if you showed her a big sprint quality set, that might be like way over the top for her. I may be wrong, but I've heard before that because her output is so freaking high, she could probably push a 24 in a long course pool, that like she doesn't need to do 15 of those. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think that happens more in the pool, definitely, than it does in the weight room. I think people get that confused a little bit. The only thing I've really seen in the weight room when it's like that is like too much jumping in a weird jumping, where you're asking them to do stuff that they're not comfortable doing at all, or you don't have a progression for it. And then back stuff happens all the time. Running is stupid. Nobody run. PSA. Wow.
Nobody run.
Don't do it. It's just, that's my PSA. The impact is just not worth it at all. Back to Grievers and some of the sprint revolution. I heard him say on that one, I know you guys have, I know Seamus liked that one a lot. I heard him say on there, if you caught this, not to do full squats. It's archaic. Like,
a
quarter squat or a half squat. This protects your knees way more and your back. Yeah. I was like, wow, no one is saying that. So those are the things on land. But yeah, in the water, like, I don't know. I think kids learning how to protect themselves more and more from that. But it would just be something like, you probably don't need 30 50s, all out. You could probably either do one easy, one fast, and do 15 fast instead and stuff like that. And it's a similar thing to the Shoshin thing or otherwise. Herbie Beam, I think, said something about just doing 4 to 6 50s max. And that's like good. Like the diminishing returns after that, like how many, and so real quick with that in full circle with that team, Bob pushes those guys crazy hard, and they definitely do volume. But honestly, like the volume does not have the same effect as going fast does in terms of breaking kids down. Like we just swam a mid-season invite, NC State host at Greensboro, and ASU was there, and they were really good. And going 1-2 in relays. They were swimming really fast. And I bet you he would still tell you that they did not do a full rest at all or anything like that. I bet you people on the outside think they did. But because they can handle, and they're different types of kids in there, he's clearly recruiting a mid-distance kid that has speed. They can handle so much. The body of work they can handle is just different. Yeah. So full circle is know your program, but more so like know your athletes, like how high their output is on a given day, but also like what can they handle? And so some kids don't know what they can handle, be it they think that it's too much and really they could push a lot harder, or the other kid who just thinks like he's supposed to just work as hard as he can every day, and if he he's going to run himself into the ground. So they need it's kids that can't communicate that's where I have that's where I get frustrated personally, like and so like just teaching them. Another thing I could talk about forever. Teaching them to like know why they had a good day is a good start. Why'd you have a good day? Okay, well, yesterday we went easy. You took, you had an easy morning, then you had a power this morning, so you were really good today. Why were you not as good today? Well, I didn't sleep as well. Good, fine. That's a good enough reason. But just like knowing, if you have no idea what's going on, that's when kids get hurt or overused or things like that.
No, that's a great point. Like communicating obviously is huge, but then also having them like reflect a little bit, like, oh, why did you feel good today? Oh, because I did this and this and this. And like, asking those questions as a coach, but then also hoping that they're, receptive of that and then communicating with you on the back end. Like you can only do so much. It's got to be a two-way street. That's awesome. Caleb, any insight?
I guess quickly. The biggest thing, like you said, you got to just tell people you can't hold on to it the whole time. There's people here within the last month that have gotten worse health-wise because they didn't tell anyone. Like we can just help you. You might as well tell us. That's the biggest one. Muscularly, I think just stretch just get ready to swim, do some arm swings or like a couple squats, just get like your joints, focus on your joints, especially. I think that's where a lot of pressure is going to be when you pull and kick and whatever you push off the wall. Knees, hips, ankles, shoulders, especially, just make sure those are ready. Arm swings, get your feet nice and wide, put your hands on your hips, bring it around town, just like SpongeBob. Great stretch. Just stretching, warming up. I think a lot of people just kind of talk for 10 or 15 minutes on deck and stay cold. You might as well talk and stretch, move your body. Keep it dynamic, though. You don't want to hold a stretch before you're warmed up. Just stretching.
All right, last few questions here. So one question that I really wanted to just ask you both is like, what is sort of like your purpose when it comes to coaching? Like, I mean, purpose is kind of thrown around a lot. And I guess what I'm coming at is like, what's your coaching philosophy as you continue to coach from things that you've gathered from some great coaches that you both have worked with? What is your approach to coaching athletes and young athletes? And Caleb, I'll start with you.
Yeah. Purpose is funny. It's an interesting question. I don't really care about like winning. Like I don't care about winning national championship, stuff like that. So definitely the purpose for me is to get them to think about what they're doing, think about their body. That was a really, really big thing for me as an athlete, just staying in touch with your body, staying in tune, being mentally aware of what's going on. Like teaching them how to balance a bunch of different things, and life's going to be hard. Swimming is hard. You can translate that at least a little bit. I think a big thing for me, especially after the last couple of years, just being happy as a person, whether you're a coach or swimmer or whatever, taking time for yourself and not just crushing yourself with work because that's what you think you should be doing and that's what life might be, or you think that that's what life is. Life is whatever you want it to be. So like, don't just accept something that you thought it should be or thought it could be. If you want it to be something else, make it something else. Right now I have way more time for myself than I have since I've graduated college, and it's really, really nice for me mentally. Work's always going to be there. Your relationship or your friend or hanging out in this town, checking this spot out, whatever, doing something for yourself is not always going to be there. So take that time. Swimming is cool. Coaching is cool. Getting to know a lot of really good people is really important. But at the end of the day, you're the most important person to yourself. So you got to take care of yourself. I think that's the biggest thing for me right now.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Ethan?
Yeah, I think culturally for coaches, like it's not acceptable, like take days off or like take a weekend and stuff. And that's just too bad. I get it. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, but I think that needs to continue to improve. Here there's definitely a lot of grind, and especially what like Caleb and I both have done in the past with some of our jobs. Caleb, like you said, since he graduated college, really sticks a club, and college at the same time, which I've definitely done too, and a lot of young coaches have to do. But at least I'll say when you make it to a point of having one job and being focused on one team, and that's sort of the place you want to be or live, like Braden to me is still the person that demonstrates that really well. Like he'll leave practice early to get his kids. Mm-hmm. Or if his kid's sick, he still puts in like a crazy amount of time, basically never really misses anything. Like he gives coaches a morning off to respect them, which is awesome, but he won't take the morning. But at the same time, like if his kids or his wife or something, he's gone. He's there quick. So I have that. Like that's a good thing to see. I'm happy to have seen that because, well, honestly, like at Duke, so much respect for the late coach there, Dan Colella, like so much. And he hired me and gave me the opportunity. And without putting blame or anything like that, the guy just kept coaching. His health was failing. And I get it. Again, it's what made him happy. So it's good. And so I get that. But, he just kept going. As his health was failing, he just kept going. And so I definitely learned a little from that as well. So maybe change my mind a little bit on those two things, especially as you get older. I don't have kids yet, but that's definitely something in the back of my mind. It's interesting that we took this direction, because that's really, I think there needs to be a little change somewhere in the industry. You know what I mean? At least so that it's like, it's more acceptable to just be like, look, at the same time, what are my like favorite things about this, or what am I the most proud of with kids after this? It's like people that can understand what I just said, but also like push their limits.
Right.
Is there a certain type of person that is going to be like, look for excuses to find a day off or a couple hours, or they're going to whatever, and they don't push through. And to me, swimming, I hope that swimmers coming out can do that. Some of the most some of the people that I'm the most proud of use that skill set after college, and that's why they're doing well, is because they're like Caleb said, it's hard, so they have that skill set of pushing their limits, pushing through. But again, it's not like look for an excuse to take days off or to go easy or anything. But I do think like you do need to watch yourself and not burn out, whether you're a coach, swimmer, or post-grad. But it's going to be hard. It's a hard job. Sure. It's hard as a swimmer. And that's the thing that sometimes I feel like we're losing. Without saying too much on that, I know there's been like a big shift to pay attention to like how you are doing mentally and stuff like that. But sometimes like it's just hard, and it might go away, and you know, you're not going to know when you reach a breaking point. Pay attention to yourself and be smart about that. But also, not everything's a breaking point. Like sometimes you can push past that. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. Last question, just to you both. Are you a fan of get out swims? And if so, do you have any favorite memories of an exciting get out swim at any point during your swim or coaching careers? Either one of you.
I'll go, and then I'll probably leave. I guess I'm a fan of get out swims. I guess it depends when and like at what point of practice and stuff. If you need to train really hard that day and somebody at the beginning of practice does a get swim, I think that's kind of silly. But if you've got like one more small set left or something, or like a little finisher, and you let somebody get up and have an opportunity to kind of shine a little bit, that can be really special for them, and obviously really nice for the team just to get 10 minutes off, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I definitely remember being at Wesleyan training trip. I think my second year there, one of our breaststrokers on the men's side, Alan Huff, I think in season he had been going like 106, 107 maybe, stuff like that, and then get out swim. Peter was like, all right, if you go under 106, we'll get out. And he went 104. Like,
yep.
It kind of also shows you who can work harder and push harder, and who maybe when they get the spotlight or a chance to swim less, they're going to push harder. So you kind of weed those out a little bit as well. I guess that's the take I'll have on that.
I haven't given a get out swim in so long. I when I started club, I started a club out of that pool, my first job, and we had a club going there, so I was just kind of making stuff up and seeing what worked. And we would do something fast like every day. Like I'd be like something off the blocks every day, which was like my favorite thing. I was like, if I run any team, I want to go off the blocks all the freaking time, because it's not a big deal. It's pressure, but it's not that big a deal like ever. It should never be that scary to do. So let's work on that skill. So I think that's great. They have to sort of be able to do it. The version that we do here is like, is just like almost the inverse of a get out swim. Like finish a really hard set and it'll be like, you're going 850s all out. Ready? And you'll like start a new thing, and and everybody will come around and watch and just be like, that's been awesome. Super cool. Like that's some really tough stuff that has been cool to see people elevate. So I think if it's used to build on that skill of just like either going when you're tired or like if you're somebody that shies away from that a little bit, putting the spotlight on them, I think it's really good stuff. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it if we had something to get done. I would never give someone a get out swim, obviously. So like the last 10, 15 minutes, I think I used them in that first club job. And it's like, no kick set at the end. Okay, let's do a get out swim. Or if you go out on this last 50, then we're done, or we take this off. So I think it's great, man. What do you think? What have you been saying on this about it?
I haven't actually said anything because I've been interviewing people. I think I agree with like what I agree with most people say. I think I am definitely a fan of it just because it generates a certain level of excitement that you just like you can't replicate anywhere else because it is a unique thing. But at the same time, like I don't use it. I can't remember the last time I've used a get out swim unless it was, you know, back at West with Peter over a training trip or something. Like I think there's a certain time and place for it. You kind of got to use it, you know, wisely. And also, like you said, to maybe build on like a really good workout or build on like a certain, you know, I don't know, just confidence booster for someone. Like it shouldn't be a scapegoat to like get out of a really hard thing or like get out, you know, maybe sometimes for sure, especially if you're in like the thick of training, you know, a training trip down in Florida and like you're beat up or, you know, you're beat up in the middle of the season over at NC State, whatever it is, like maybe like an afternoon off would be good, but like not like we're getting out of like a really hard set type of thing because, you know, you guys are all really, 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 really exhausted and you're complaining and whatnot. It, you know, that's not like a reward in that way. So that's kind of my take, but I do love it. You know,
when you say, when we start talking about it, when I have like just the picture of like bringing someone in after. So now that I say that, it's like I have images of people that like can just, I think Caleb was trying to say like can go harder or, you know, that there's more in there. So show them by putting a little pressure on them, but not somebody that's going to totally break. And then afterwards, bring them in. Like even those 50s is what I'm saying. We did this 50s. We did how many 50s on? Saturday we did like suit up racing really fast, super intense. Everybody's about to be done. 2 people get pulled over. We're going 850s. Another person comes over. Yeah, you know what? You're going 850s too. And then those 3 guys bring someone else in and they all do it. And afterwards it's like, hey, because you did that, you know, you can go this fast and you're 200, you can go 140 or 200 fly the way you train like that, bring him in, you know, bring him in. So,
yeah, no, for sure. It's like building some resilience. Yeah, for sure. Mentally too. Like that stuff is just as important mentally too. Right. If like arguably even more for your mental than it is physically. Right. I love that. Cool. So I know Ethan, or I know Caleb has, he had to go on to coach at UNCW, so I appreciate his time. But while I have Ethan here, I wanted to ask him one more question. So for you, like, what advice would you give to, like, you know, if this was like a younger version of yourself as a young swimmer, or just like young swimmers today, like, what advice would you give to people who are looking to, you know, to get into some serious, you know, I would say some serious swimming, like either at the high school level, the club level, and then hopefully the college level, and finding the right, you know, university or college for them. Like, what advice would you give like to your younger self if you were to go through this journey again, or even to younger swimmers today?
Yeah.
It's a loaded question.
You have to have somewhere in there you have to have a hard conversation about priority, because honestly, two things. One thing, I'm a way better coach than I was a swimmer. I have no idea how good I could have been. I have no clue. I asked my mom the other week, like, did anybody in your entire family growing up play any sports at any point? And the answer is resounding, not at all. Not a single person in that family played any sports ever. Right. So like I'm not saying that's why I couldn't have gone harder, but my family didn't know anything about sports. They just didn't know what that took, that sacrifice. So I had a good mentor. I had a good high school coach, my brother I looked up to, but it's like, and you don't have to do this when you're 7 or 8. That's the other thing. So if you're 7, 8, 9, 10, or you have a kid like that, or you have groups like that, I don't know. I don't think, just stick with it and enjoy it. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that's where you got to be like, what's the priority? What do I want? You know what I mean? And it came to me that I wanted to contribute on a team and be on relays and stuff. So that's how I made my decisions. If you're not having fun with it, maybe find a change or take a break, but have a plan to come back and then prioritize. Like, I honestly, my priorities were definitely different than some other really high level swimmers and stuff. So yeah. And even there, like I said, some people think that the only thing that matters is how hard they work to do it. And that may even break you down and be the thing that undoes all of it. So pay attention to yourself and your happiness and think about your priorities.
Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. It's awesome. All right. Well, thanks for doing this. Love catching up with you and Caleb, and we'll definitely talk soon.
Thanks, Doug.
All right.
Appreciate it.